offer as deadline closes. Players are seeking a salary cap of $10 million, 30% of league revenue. The league believes it will cost it'll be an atrocious loss. 30% is crazy, bro. How do you give 30% of something you ain't got?
What you're hearing isn't noise or hot takes, it's pressure boiling over. League sources say Adam Silver has reached his limit as CBA talks spiral toward collapse. With just 48 hours left before a possible lockout, the divide between player demands and league finances has stopped being a disagreement. It's a massive financial rift, one deep enough to put the entire 2025 season in serious jeopardy.
Report goes on to say, you heard a lot of chatter about what we're asking for. It's not sustainable for the business. Nafisa Collier said during the Unrivaled broadcast Monday. Being on this side with Unrivaled, I know what it takes to run a sustainable business. Yeah, but you ain't had this business for 30 damn years. If they can't find them.
Everything started with a single figure, 30%. 2 weeks ago, the WNBA Players Association delivered a proposal calling for a 30% share of gross league revenue, along with a dramatic salary cap increase from $1.5 million to $10.5 million per team. According to Front Office Sports, which verified the numbers on January 7, 2025, the league's internal projections paint a brutal picture. Officials say adopting this deal wouldn't shrink profits. It would trigger roughly $700 million in cumulative losses across the life of the CBA. Losses large enough to push multiple franchises toward insolvency.
We need to put people in place who can. We're proving that it's possible. There is a way. We're thriving in it. Y'all thriving in it. Your league only been around for 2 years. How could you base your 2-year data off 30-year data? They've been having to pay salaries, pay for arenas, pay for different things for the last 30 years. And they just now, we don't even know if they even made a profit. Just last year when Caitlin Clark came, they was at a $24 million loss. Do we all forget this?
That moment exposes the real disconnect. A startup league like Unrivaled has existed for barely 2 years under an entirely different economic structure. Yet players are pointing to it as evidence that WNBA ownership is misleading them about long-term viability. What that comparison leaves out is history. The WNBA has relied on NBA subsidies for 28 straight seasons. Financial disclosures show a $40 million loss in 2023, followed by another $24 million deficit in 2024. And that's with the Caitlin Clark surge producing record-breaking ratings. Wanting a bigger share isn't unreasonable. The problem is negotiating as though the revenue is already there, when the numbers say the opposite.
Now, Fisa Collier been tripping. It says both sides agreed to second extension hours before the CBA was set to expire on November the 30th. Last month, the WBPA authorized a strike in a vote that included 93% of participation from players. 98% voted to allow the union's executive committee to call a strike when necessary. Now, if both sides can...
Now shift the focus to what ownership actually put on the table, because this is where the story changes. In early December, the WNBA countered with an offer giving players 70% of net league revenue, not gross, as the union demanded. People close to the talks say that works out to roughly 15% of total gross revenue. Under this proposal, the team salary cap would jump from $1.5 million to $5 million. Maximum contracts would rise above $1.3 million, and average salaries would climb past $500,000 over the life of the deal. That's more than a threefold increase in spending. For a league that has never posted a profit, it wasn't a symbolic move. It was a massive concession. The players still walked away, holding firm to one demand: gross revenue sharing. Not yet.
Whether in the form of a lockout initiated by the owners or strike initiated by the players would not be automatic. If neither side initiated a work stoppage, negotiation could instead enter a period of status quo. Under the terms, so this is what's finna happen possibly, y'all. So it said, under the terms of the current CBA, the players cannot strike without terminating the extended agreement. But if negotiations are under status quo, the union could call a strike at any...
What raises the stakes here is how close this has come to the edge. Both parties already pushed the deadline back twice. once on November 30th when the original CBA expired, and again toward the end of December. Now it's January 7th. The clock is racing toward a January 9th midnight cutoff, and there's still no agreement in sight. Meanwhile, the WNBA Players Association quietly removed any doubt about leverage. Back in November, they conducted a strike authorization vote with 93% of players participating. Of those voters, an overwhelming 98% empowered leadership to shut the league down if needed. That isn't posturing. That's a trigger sitting on the table.
It is. If the union could call it, that's probably what's going to happen after the 9th. I'm the first one calling this. That's probably what's going to happen on the 9th, probably late January 9th. No more extensions. It's going to be a strike that will be forced by the union. The union is more than likely, from what I'm reading, it's going to be the ones to inflict this strike onto the WNBA. Now,
what truly turns this standoff into a ticking time bomb is the rule structure itself. As long as the current CBA remains intact, players legally can't strike without formally ending the agreement. But once talks slide into a status quo phase after January 9th, where the old terms stay in place while negotiations drag on, the dynamics flip instantly. In that window, the union can trigger a strike at any moment, without notice, without another vote. That authority already sits with the executive committee. So even if the league avoids an immediate lockout, every game, every TV contract, and every sponsorship conversation would operate under the shadow of a potential mid-season shutdown. That level of uncertainty doesn't just slow growth, it can cripple momentum entirely.
Silver's frustrated as hell. Like, why we can't get this deal done? Like, it's not for to be a WNBA season, guys. I really don't think it is. Like, not that they're asking for down there half of the revenue. Like, how are we gonna give you half when we don't even have half to give? They don't even have half to give. Yeah, I do understand it, right? Guys, get down in the comment section right now. Let me know your thoughts about this one. Make sure you keep the bells on until.
To really grasp the scale of this 30% demand, consider the context. NBA players take home roughly 50% of basketball-related revenue. But that's a league pulling in nearly $10 billion a year with decades of proven profitability. By contrast, the WNBA generated about $200 million in 2024. A 30% cut from that gross revenue would siphon $60 million off the top before covering basic expenses, arena fees, travel, staff wages, marketing, broadcast production. All of it comes out of the remaining $140 million. And remember, the league was already $24 million in the red last year. Without this new salary structure, the math doesn't just fail. It sets the league on a path to bankruptcy within 3 years.
Fans, they're killing the interest. Y'all talking about fans, tweeting, us making videos. Y'all doing everything y'all can to sabotage y'all current little hype that y'all got. To the point now where the hype is so bad, hell, it's hard to get 5,000 views on a video right now. I just got to keep it real because ain't nobody else going to see it. Everybody is struggling. If your name ain't Rachel Demento, you're struggling. I'm sorry. It's that bad. But us trying to report on this thing is keeping on.
Frustration makes sense when you see it from Adam Silver's perspective. According to multiple insiders, he believed a deal was essentially wrapped up back in early December. The league had tabled what it considered a landmark offer, tripling the salary cap, guaranteeing revenue sharing for the first time in WNBA history, and setting a clear path for max contracts above $1 million. Silver expected the players to propose minor tweaks, a compromise that would get signed before Christmas. Instead, the union returned with a 30% gross revenue demand the league deems financially impossible. Now Silver is forced back to the negotiating table, racing against a ticking clock that could produce either a lockout or a mid-season strike, wiping out the momentum Caitlin Clark built in her rookie season.
It said, bruh, let's dive into this article that has just been released about an hour ago, man. This is from Front Office Sports. Not even an hour, about to get an hour ago. So this is the current state of the WNBA. So WNBA.
Frustration makes sense when you see it from Adam Silver's perspective. According to multiple insiders, he believed a deal was essentially wrapped up back in early December. The league had tabled what it considered a landmark offer, tripling the salary cap, guaranteeing revenue sharing for the first time in WNBA history, and setting a clear path for max contracts above $1 million. Silver expected the players to propose minor tweaks, a compromise that would get signed before Christmas. Instead, the union returned with a 30% gross revenue demand the league deems financially impossible. Now Silver is forced back to the negotiating table, racing against a ticking clock that could produce either a lockout or a mid-season strike. Wiping out the momentum Caitlin Clark built in her rookie season. The stakes couldn't be higher. The league has offered tripled salaries, revenue sharing, and a path to sustainable growth. The players are the ones asking for terms that could bankrupt the league. If they strike, it's not the stars with multimillion-dollar endorsements who suffer. It's the players making league minimum, the ones counting on overseas contracts, and the ones banking on promise raises. So here's the question every WNBA fan should ask. Is 30% of gross revenue worth destroying the league's best moment ever? Because that's the decision being made right now, just 48 hours from a deadline that could end the 2025 season before it even begins. Reality is on the table. The league has offered a path to meaningful salary growth tied to actual finances. The players now have to choose: build a sustainable future, or demand flashy terms that look good on paper but lead to collapse. What happens on January 9th? Will the union accept reality, or hold the threat of a strike over the entire season? Will Adam Silver step back and let a lockout happen? Drop your prediction in the comments, because the WNBA's breakthrough moment could either become its historic rise, or its undoing.